This is insane. Scientists have just shocked the world after releasing a video where you can hear the first direwolf howl in 10,000 years.
You say I'd like to go to Paris this year, but I can't afford. You just told 75 trillion cells to see to you don't get to Paris. Huh? That's who you are. And when you find that out, huh?
Y'all want to hear my super fun theory about the pyramids? I'm going to show you the actual science behind this, and then tell you why I think they built them. What they are actually for.
Welcome back to another episode of Quick Reaction TV. Smash the like, subscribe, and rock the bell so you won't miss another episode. You know it's free and it helps the channel grow. I got a wild selection today. Let's check it out. Quick!
Video is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
A flea is just a small ass spider. They just switched the name of it, but a lot of people don't know that.
So this is the wokest of the woke, young Pharaoh, y'all. These people are crazy.
So I say that to say, yeah, they was trying to get them spiders out the motherfuckers because the dudes was training them spiders up to hit people in the military, just like you could train a dog.
I ain't gonna lie, it was more people in this live than be in my shit. People still really listen to this.
And I know that this shit sound unbelievable, but it's the truth. And I say to say that that's why I would recommend that you don't be no Hebrew, because even when you say I'm a Hebrew, what you saying is I'm a man that's boiling in shit. That's what that means. That's literally what that translates to. Hebrew. He's boiling in feces, right? And they say cleanliness is next to godliness, and that's not godly, right? And go look, like I said, go look it up.
Elijah Muhammad Ali looks like a butterfly and stings like a bee.
Just thinking about spending another minute with Farrakhan made me never want to do time in the joint again.
A lot of people don't realize that the government was running out of soldiers and they was making them. Like, nigga, me and you going to war and 15 niggas or 1,500 niggas died and we was only 2,000 deep. Nigga, they was going under the ground and creating 1,500 more motherfuckers.
Always remember, my brother, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, knick-knack, paddywhack, get a dog a bone.
So one time, the original way of life of black people is Atonism and Buddhism.
Boy, if you don't get
These YNs, is that really what they believe? You know what? Give me this tablet. Give me this phone. Give me this weed. Give me this weed.
This is insane. Scientists have just shocked the world after releasing a video where you can hear the first direwolf howl in 10,000 years. The Times just wrote an article about it and described it as the return of the direwolf. Now, if you didn't already know, direwolves once roamed the Americas from Canada all the way down to Venezuela. But about 10,000 years ago, they vanished, going extinct along with other giant Ice Age animals like the mammoth. But their bones stayed behind. And fast forward to 2025, scientists at Colossal Biosciences recently discovered ancient DNA inside fossils that dated all the way back from 11,000 to 72,000 years old. Then, using that DNA that they discovered, they managed to decode the direwolf's entire genetic blueprint. And here is where things get wild. They took ordinary DNA from a gray wolf and then edited it gene by gene to perfectly match the ancient direwolf's genetic code. Then, using domestic dogs as surrogate mothers, Romulus and Remus were born in October. Colossal claim that they are the first de-extinct animals ever. And at just 6 months old, they are already 4 feet long, weigh 80 pounds. And what's crazier is that instead of being really friendly and cuddly, the Times report that they're kind of cold, cautious, and avoid humans entirely. They even avoid the people who raised them and bottle fed them from birth. Colossal posted about this achievement on X, saying, "This moment marks not just a milestone for us as a company, but also a leap forward for science, conservation, and humanity." They said they're aiming to revolutionize endangered species by mastering genetic technology. And if successful, not only could we hold on to our current species from going extinct, but maybe even bring back the ones lost to the past. However, not everyone is celebrating. Some say calling this de-extinction is disingenuous, arguing that they are only grey wolves with 20 edited genes to mimic direwolf traits. And others warn that this kind of genetic meddling could lead to catastrophic consequences. But what do you think? Is this an amazing scientific breakthrough that should continue to be pursued? Or are we messing with things far beyond our control, risking consequences that we can't possibly predict?
What?
Scientists are smart enough to bring back an extinct species, but they're not smart enough to figure out why that extinct species is standoffish from humans. I know why. Because it's supposed to be dead. It's not supposed to see humans. Why don't they understand that the almighty power of God is the only thing that can bring something back from the dead successfully? And that guy's name was Lazarus. Jesus, grab the wheel.
Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
Y'all want to hear my super fun theory about the pyramids? I'm going to show you the actual science behind this, and then tell you why I think they built them. What they are actually for. When they were actually used. First things first, a brief timeline of ancient Egypt. I do believe exactly none of these people built those pyramids. I do believe that these people right here got off the ark and multiplied. We can discuss that part later. I do believe the evidence shows that these buildings right here were constructed before the flood. And that's partly because they can be found all over the world on every continent, not Antarctica. Wait till it thaws. Wait till it thaws out and then we'll see what's on Antarctica, won't we? I do believe the pyramids the world over are the remnants of a pre-flood civilization, the antediluvian world. Atlantis, if you want. First, a brief word about time and dates. I'm not sure how it's escaped everyone, but time is relative and experience is dilation, periods where it gets stretched out, and periods where it gets condensed. Just all the time. It goes through this just like everything else. And I do mean in constant flux, time and space both stretch out and condense, stretch out and condense. So if we're looking back at the historical record and trying to put times and dates on everything, using a standard measurement in a dynamic system where that measurement stretches out and condenses, I think not. If we are in a period where time is condensed, and we're measuring all of time as if it stays that way when it does not, we do err greatly. It's gonna look like millions and billions of years, and we're gonna look like fools writing that down on the paper, because it ain't no such thing. You ask a modern academic how old the Earth is, he might say 1,000,000 billion years. 4.5 billion years, what he'll say probably. Ask a galaxy, he's gonna say 6 days. Anyway, geometry is super important to reality in every way, shape, and form. Shape and form. Now, what may appear to you and I as a pyramid, well, you see, in real life, it's a toroid. You might say, no, it's not, it's a pyramid. Just like I say the Earth is a toroid, and people say, no, it's not, it's an oblate spheroid. Or a frisbee, depends on who you ask. Look, I'm not talking about the parts you can see, I'm talking about the part your dirt eyeballs cannot observe. It is a toroid. The pyramid shape induces a magnetic field. It sucks the ions out of the upper ionosphere, and you can't just have a vacuum. That space up there is filled with plasma. And being that it's a direct part of this process right here, and that this process is toroidal vortex, like everything else, the plasma organizes itself, self-organizing, toroidal plasmoids. And here's the fun part. I do mean bodies. Remember how I said Earth is a toroid? The universe is a toroid. Full of toroids, nested toroids, they're called. So that this is the Earth, and heaven has 3 levels. The sky, what we call space, where the sun and the stars are, and paradise, what we can't see, where the throne of God is, heaven. Has 3 layers, sky, space, and paradise. I put this in quotation so that hopefully you won't lose your mind, but rather know what I'm referring to, that space up there, past the sky. The second heaven, it is called. So the pyramids are on Earth, generating bodies in the sky. Self-organizing toroidal plasmoid sky bodies. Okay, stay with me. Understanding I'm not making up the self-organizing toroidal plasmoid part at all. That is happening still today. Think of it like unto a robot factory spitting out robot bodies with no operating system because the whole factory isn't functioning, just the part that spits out the bodies. The rest of it is all shut down, but the bodies keep piling up in the sky there, right? I'm not saying that no one has found use for those bodies up there. There are a bunch of demons that died in the flood. The demons, or unclean spirits, being the offspring of fallen angels mated with women. How did fallen angels mate with women? Well, have you heard of self-organizing toroidal plasmoid bodies in the sky? I don't know exactly, all right? But something real wild is happening here. Pyramids generate sky bodies that are also toroids. The toroid part being essential for life. What you're looking at right there could be referred to as metabolism when it's happening in you and I. Without metabolism, this body becomes uninhabitable. That's why even zombies gotta eat. Wait, zombies aren't real. We already have examples, potentials. Don't go dismissing that idea. Now, they're already using this in science. Arranging atoms into pyramid shapes, especially at the nanoscale, can create unique electromagnetic properties and effects. They're already using this in our technology. On the nanoscale, so that when I say that the law of distribution, the energy and mass is distributed at the same ratio on all levels, from the quantum physics to the cosmic, the laws of physics organizing that equally distributed mass and energy by the same rules on all levels, the quantum confirms the classical. When I tell you this has been observed of the pyramids, this right here is mainstream science. So let me tell you my whole theory. We're going to read 2 Bible verses. I'm going to point something out special in each one. The first is from Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve. And here it comes, look. Whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood. There it is. Or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. Wait a minute, 2 different sets of gods? But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. What gods did their fathers serve that were on the other side of the flood? Because I know the gods of the Amorites were Nimrod and Semiramis, humans, who claimed to be descended from the gods on the other side of the flood. Wait a minute. Claimed to be the reincarnation of those gods who died in the flood. What? Were no longer to be found anywhere in the land after the flood. What are we going to do? Don't worry. One of their descendants got off the ark, and she had children. And now Semiramis and Nimrod and Tammuz can take the place of those gods that got wrapped in chains and thrown into hell when God flooded the earth. That's Genesis 6 and Jude chapter 1. 1 Peter 3, read that too. It'll help Ephesians 4 make more sense. Why did Jesus descend into hell when he got crucified? Well, one reason was to preach to disobedient spirits who fell in the days of Enoch. Okay, but if angels quit their first estate in heaven to come to the earth to be gods and mate with women, how did they mate with women if they left their bodies in heaven? What bodies did they have on earth? Our next scripture is Revelation 13, verse 14. I'm going to add 15 to it. There are 2 beasts mentioned in Revelation 13. The first is from the sea. The second is from the land. That's not the part we're going to focus on. The second beast deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, here it is right here, that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. The second beast makes an image for the first beast. If you don't know what all that's talking about, that's not what we're focusing on. Make an image unto the beast. And this is an idol, like Nebuchadnezzar made a gold statue of himself. But why did they make idols of themselves for men to worship and such? What is the idols thing? Making artificial bodies out of stone and metal and stuff? Verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Wait a second. This isn't a dude making a statue of himself and then he having his own people who won't bow down to his statue killed. It's talking about a statue that comes to life and has authority. God made a big deal all through the Old Testament about how the idols were dumb. They couldn't speak. They couldn't answer prayers. They couldn't do anything. They were statues. Why did they build statues and then think that they would do stuff for them, though? Like, where'd they get this idea? How did they know that this right here was even possible? They didn't really. They were very ignorant, but they got that idea from somewhere. Even if they didn't know what it meant, they had the idea from somewhere, and they were trying to do it themselves. And now we are building our own gods, but these are no longer dumb. They can talk and sweep the floor. And I'm not even going to tell you what the actual industry that's going to drive this is. So, recorded ancient Egyptian religion. Imagine you had to get on a boat to survive a worldwide flood. And you had your iPhone in your pocket. While you're on the boat waiting for the water to go down, your iPhone dies. Now what are you going to do? You came from a world of civilization and technology, but that's all gone now. You're going to tell your kids about it, and they're going to hold all of that knowledge in ignorance until time should catch up once more. and they can begin to understand what all of this actually means, what it actually does, rather than what a pitiful game of telephone taught ancient Egyptians. Can a god from heaven dwell in a building? Well, it does have a metabolism. Could a god from heaven enter into one of these buildings and use it to manifest himself a body of some sort? And can men be deceived into building bodies for celestial beings to leave theirs in heaven to come to earth to dwell in? I do not know how all of this is related yet. I only know that it is, and we are going to find out. There's nothing new under the sun. That thing that was is that thing that shall be again. As the days of Noah were, so shall it be once more. You don't believe in myths? That's funny. You're in one.
Wow, man. Damn.
So one day, this woman's chilling at home, and she hears a knock at the door. So she walks over to answer it, and she opens it up. And there, on her porch, is a circus clown, wearing like the full outfit. And the clown is carrying balloons and flowers. And then the clown hands the woman the balloons and flowers. And then they pull out a pew-pew, and they point it at the woman's face, and they pull the trigger. So, why was this woman just unalived by a clown? Well, the story doesn't actually start there. The story starts with this other woman, Sheila. And Sheila's 27, she works at a used car dealership, and she's the one who repossesses the cars. Because she's apparently a tough lady, and she's good at her job. In fact, she's so good at her job, at some point she catches the eye of the owner. This guy, Mike. And Mike and Sheila, they hit it off, and they start flirting at work, and eventually they start smashing. Like, a lot. And Mike and Sheila, they are crazy about each other. Mike even starts paying rent on Sheila's apartment for her. That's how much he likes her. And these two want nothing more than to keep this relationship going so that they can live happily ever after. Except, there's one thing standing in their way. Mike is actually married. And of course, he doesn't want to just get a divorce like a normal human being, because apparently half his assets are in his wife's name, which means if they split up, she's gonna get a big check. So he doesn't want to get a divorce. So then Sheila comes up with a plan to get rid of Mike's wife for good. One night, Sheila goes to a costume store, and there she buys a clown costume. Orange wig, makeup, red nose, the whole thing. 2 days later, Mike's wife, her name's Marlene, Marlene is chilling at home with her adult son. And suddenly, they hear a knock at the door. So Marlene walks over to answer it, and sure enough, there's a whole-ass circus clown standing on her porch. Like in the full outfit, and the clown is carrying balloons and flowers. But then, the clown hands the balloons and flowers to Marlene. And then they pull out a pew-pew, and they point it at Marlene's face, and they pull the trigger. Then the clown calmly walks back to their car and they drive away. So immediately Marlene's son calls 911 and paramedics come and they rush her to the hospital. And there doctors put her on life support. But unfortunately, it's not enough. 2 days later, they take Marlene off the life support and she passes away. And pretty quickly, police start to investigate this. They're looking at possible suspects and who could be involved, and all they know is that the suspect is a 6-foot clown. So they're thinking maybe the murdering clown is Marlene's husband, Mike. But as it turns out, Mike has a solid alibi. He was with a bunch of friends on their way to the racetrack. But as police are asking around about this, they learn that Mike had been having an affair with Sheila from work. So police change tactics, and they start looking around for costume shops in the area. And they end up finding one that had recently sold a clown costume. So they interview the employee who was working that day, and the employee describes the customer as a woman who just happens to fit the description of Sheila. Then they find the clown's getaway car, abandoned in a parking lot. And in that car, they find orange hair fibers from a clown wig, as well as some brown human hair. So they get a search warrant, and they go search Sheila's apartment. And there, guess what they find? Orange hairs from a clown wig, and brown human hairs. But unfortunately, the hairs alone aren't enough to make a connection. So they can't arrest Sheila, and they can't charge her with anything involving the murder. Here's what's crazy though. During this investigation, police look into Mike because, of course, he's the husband. And while they don't don't find any evidence that he's involved in Marlene's death, they do find evidence that he's been committing serious fraud at his used car dealership, rolling back odometers, manipulating the titles of vehicles, stuff like that. So Mike is arrested for this, and he's convicted, and he goes to prison. While Sheila, the person who actually committed the murder, doesn't. She's free. 3 years later, Mike gets out. He served his time. And he and Sheila, they end up getting married. And they finally live happily ever after like they always wanted. Until 15 years go by, and Marlene's death is still unresolved. But one day, the local sheriff's office gets some grant money to open unsolved cases from the past. So they open some cases, and one of those cases is this clown murder case. So they form a task force, and they re-interview witnesses, and they look at all the old evidence. And most importantly, they submit those brown human hairs that they found in the clown's getaway car for DNA testing. Which DNA testing wasn't as widely available decades before when this case first started, but it is available now, so they submit it. And of course, boom, they get a match. It's Sheila. So finally, 27 years after Marlene's murder, they arrest Sheila. Here's her mugshot. And she goes to trial, she ends up taking a plea deal, and she's sentenced to 12 years in prison. Now, one more thing. There is speculation that Sheila didn't act alone in all this, that Mike was also involved in the planning of his wife's unaliving, but in their investigation, police were not able to find any hard evidence of that. So he was never charged nor convicted. Shout out to Florida.
What? What the fuck?
That's the episode, Quik Crew. Thanks for chilling to the end. Please like, subscribe, and comment your comments on today's episode. Remember, keep God first, respect yourself, and remember to forgive. And I'll see you in the next vid. Quick!